हम सबका कहानियों से बहुत ही लंबा गहरा रिश्ता है। चाहे ये वो कहानियाँ हैं जो हमको हमारी दादी या नानी ने सुनाई हों, या चाहे वो कहानियाँ हमारे मम्मी पापा की जो कभी ख़त्म ही नहीं होती हैं और रिपीट मोड पे चलती रहती हैं। चाहे वो स्कूल जाने की कहानियाँ हों या उनके बचपन की कहानियाँ हों। कहानियाँ हमारी लाइफ का बहुत ही अहम और बहुत गहरा हिस्सा है। We tell the stories that we want to believe in, and sometimes these stories can be the prison that we can't break ourselves out from. And these stories don't have to be about ourselves. These stories could be about the people we know, about the situations we are in, or stories of situations that we believe caught us at the wrong foot. The most damning of these stories are the stories of shame that we tell ourselves. What is shame? Shame, शर्म, वही शर्म जिससे आपके टीचर ने आपकी मुलाकात करवाई हो, आपके मम्मी पापा ने आपको बताया हो, या वो शर्म जो आप महसूस करते हैं अंदर तक, अपनी रूह तक. I have a very close relationship with shame. And it is shame that really has defined me who I am and how my life has changed in the last 2 to 3 decades. You see, the thing is, shame is a very integral part of our life. And it's the stories that we tell about shame to ourselves that can either keep us imprisoned or liberate us to the next step that the future is wanting to give us, but the stories don't let us move forward. Samjhe? Nahi. I'll tell you a story about it. Like I've shared in my other videos, my whole life is about me, is entrapped in the stories that I have about myself, whether it was my past or whether how I'm creating my future for the times to come. So this story begins when I was in a troubled marriage, and it was a time of great turmoil for myself, and I was so entrapped by the stories I had told myself of the shame that I would bring if I walk out of this marriage, the shame I would bring to my parents, to myself, to my friends, and most of all to my children. And I stayed prisoner to this shame for a very, very long time, till I came to a point where I had to get shame, confront it head on and say, what is it? What is holding me back from recreating my future, recreating what Rubina was? Are we just a result of what we've done in our past, or do we have a chance to recreate ourselves? Because if we don't recreate yourselves, then we're going to be damned by the choices we've made all our lives. And when you have to recreate yourselves, you have to go back deep inside to come out. You have to encounter the darkness to see the light outside. There is no other way. And one of the biggest darkness, the dark cloud that engulfs us, keeps us shackled to our present and our past choices, is shame. That cloud of shame is so big and so strong that our light of logic, the small little light of reasoning, the small little light of hope that we deserve better, gets completely overpowered by this dark cloud of shame. How do you get out of shame? Well, you know what? It is work. It is hard work. And it's the hardest of work because you are fighting yourself. You are fighting the demons that you have brought about larger than life in yourselves. Whether it is the smallest thing like, मैं कैसे घर जाके बताऊंगी कि जो मैंने पहले गलतियां करी थी वो गलत थी, मैं कैसे जाके किसी को बताऊंगी जो मैंने ये बोला था वो झूठ है, मैं कैसे जाके दुनिया को ये बताऊं that I failed. So what is keeping us entrapped in that shame is the fear of failing again. ठीक है, मैं यहाँ से निकल जाऊंगी, but how do I know that I will not fail again? The shame of impending failure sometimes traps us in our wrong choices for years to come. But our life is limited. So how much time do you give yourself to break out of that shame, that pattern of disgust, self-disgust, and that pattern of constantly telling yourself that, you know what, you made a wrong choice. And maybe a part of you even believes that you deserve the punishment that you're living because of a wrong choice. My question is, for how long? What is the right time for you to say that I have suffered enough? That you know what, I have given enough sacrifice to the shame or to the wrong choice or to the failure that I was. You know what? There is no prescribed time. That prescribed time is in your power and my power. So, how do we change the story on shame? It's actually not so difficult. I'll tell you how. Well, I decided that, I wasted 8 years in a situation that I was unhappy with. I was ashamed to tell my parents, I was ashamed to tell my friends, I was ashamed of society. And then it came down to how long am I going to give myself to be ashamed of? Am I going to sit back and spend another 20 years? Is that all that Rubina is going to amount to? A story of a wrong choice and the story of living in the shame of that wrong choice or living in the failure. So months, years passed in me fighting the shame. Sometimes my little flame of logic and hope won, sometimes shame won. But here is what I learned. Every time I struck deeper at shame, every time I reasoned with shame, every time I came back stronger at shame and questioned it, so what? What the bloody hell? Why can't I change my situation? Why can't I accept that I made a mistake and move on? Shame became smaller and smaller. And my light of logic and self-belief became stronger and more brighter. Till a day came where I stood up and said, you know what? I am going to take that one step forward and move. What is the worst thing that will happen? The worst thing that will happen is I'm going to fail, but I could also succeed. Does every failure guarantee the next step is going to be a failure? How can it? When success cannot guarantee that once you've succeeded, you're going to succeed every time, why would failure be able to succeed every time on you? समझे? Well, यहीं पे तो सारी कश्मकश है. कश्मकश ये है कि हम फेलियर को इतना बड़ा मकाम पे रख देते हैं, इतनी उसको इम्पोर्टेंस देते हैं, till it strangles our throat and says, you know what, you cannot move forward. It paralyzes you into a state of, I am better here than taking the step forward. But that is where the light is. That is where the evolution of self is. And that is where your first step in believing yourself comes from. You take that first step and you move out. And you say, if it is a choice that I have made, I am responsible for the failure and the success that's going to follow. It's mine and mine alone. And that's what I did. I moved out with 2 small children. A very little amount of money in my bank. It was not even 15,000 rupees, if you want a perspective. So I moved out and I didn't tell my parents. The reason I didn't tell my parents was because I realized that that's a shackle that I'll not be able to fight. I'll not be able to see them crumble and see them go through the pain of seeing in their perception my life being destroyed. But in my mind, I just knew that if I could get myself to break this current circle of failure, this current kashmakash जो मुझे खाई जा रही थी, I'm sure that I could find a little more light in my life. So I stepped out. I went to my friend's place, and that is where my next life began. In retrospect, if someone was to tell me that, you know what, I'm going to give you this little bit of money, these 2 children, go create a life for yourself, there is nothing in the world that could have given me the courage to do it. It's a bloody hard choice. You are against so many things that could go wrong, so many things that are impossible to achieve, that you will be immobilized by fear. Fear of failing. The fear of shame that comes with failure. So here is how I accounted for my shame. I said, Rubina, तुम्हारे साथ कोई नहीं है, but you are responsible for the 2 children that you have. The people who love you, the friends who care for you, are going to be there with you, irrespective of how badly you fail or how much shame that comes to you. You know why? Because they are the ones who really love you. And so, who are you afraid of? You're afraid of the people, the society, who is not even aware of where you are and what are the demons you're fighting. So, if nothing else, fight for the love and support of the people who really believe in me. And you know who believed in me? My two children. In their little eyes, I knew that I could not fail. I mean, I could do anything, but I wouldn't fail. Because I was their mom. Their mom who did things the right way, every time. And if I didn't fail in their eyes, who else really mattered? To me, no one else mattered as much as they did. And so you take the step. And you take the step, and then you meet your first success. You don't even recognize that first success because you're so scared of failure. But here is where the sun rises again and the days get so much more beautiful. And the little light of hope and logic and reason that you've nurtured through all the dark nights becomes this huge ball of love, hope, and positivity that engulfs you. Because you've been through the fire and you've come out so much stronger. And every success makes you more and more stronger to go forward till you realize success. I know how that is done. And failure, I've done it. I've overgrown it. I can do it again. So let me not give in to the failure, more importantly, to the shame. So my friend, shame is nothing. It's nothing but the tiniest, smallest demon in your head. The day you let it out of your head, shut it out and say goodbye. You have your own journey, I have my own. Is the day you really grow and you evolve. Because then there is no fear to stop you back. Nothing. All the shackles come off and you really get set on this trajectory of absolute success and most importantly, belief in yourself that failure and shame can cast no shadow on you or on your soul ever again. The most important lesson that I learned from this entire journey of coming out, confronting my demons, confronting the shame of doing what I'm going to do, and to succeed as insanely as I did, and to rebuild my life as beautifully and as gorgeously as I have, and to live such a beautiful dream for myself, I learned the most important lesson is to be kind to yourself. We all learn that kindness is one of the biggest virtues you can have. But what does it mean to be kind to yourself? It means a whole lot of a different world opening up for yourself. Till I catch you next time on my next video on kindness and my heart gets better and better. Take care of yourself and don't let SHAME anywhere near you.